Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you so much for clicking by. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith. This is all about wine education, designed to help you get the most out of what's in your glass, specifically designed to help those of you studying the wonderful world of wine so you can, of course, understand the topic to successfully pass your examinations. Here, we're going to be looking at Argentina, the wonderful South American country, crafting some beautiful wines, specifically leading out of Malbec. And this is going to be for the WSET Level 3. So that's the green textbook, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. I'm going to go through a short written question. The examination for the WSET course is split into multiple choice, a tasting, and then writing about wine, what we call the short written questions. So I am going to pose a number of questions here. Perhaps it's a good idea if you pause them and try and answer them yourselves, and then press play and I'll walk you through the answers from an examiner. Gives you really good idea about what to expect in terms of your examination and of course how to answer them successfully. If you do have any comments or questions, please do get in touch. You can comment on this video below. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Now, this is just a taster version, a shortened version to give you an idea of what you can access over at my e-learning portal. So there is a full version plus huge volumes more short written questions, multiple choice flashcards, map questions, maps themselves, plenty of extra resources to help you with your studies. You'll find the full version of this video plus all those extra goodies over at my e-learning platform. You'll see the address there at the bottom of the screen and in the description of this video. Right, let's get stuck in to some questions. Now, this is, of course, all around Argentina. It's going to state here that most of Argentina is well known for very low rainfall levels, mainly, of course, due to the huge natural factor, which is the Andes mountain range, which sits to its western side. State an advantage and disadvantage of having low rainfall, of course, in terms of viticulture. 2 marks available here, one for an advantage. So the advantage of having lower rainfall levels are around things like low disease pressure. So when there is greater volumes of water, moisture, humidity, rainfall, you are going to have much more elevated mildew and rot risk. So this is what we call disease pressure. This is lowered when the rainfall is lower. Now, there are other things you could potentially think about here. You might want to say that there is a higher percentage of organic viticulture there, certainly an advantage, because that means that's possible without having the need to spray so much in terms of chemical sprays. So what would be a disadvantage of low rainfalls? So if there's not much water available, we are talking about the risk to the vine of not being able to access water. And this is what we would call drought conditions, okay? So causing severe stress. Now, this is just stating, look at the question, state an advantage and disadvantage, not state and explain. So we don't need to go any further than just stating those 2 points that we've mentioned. Okay, now for the disadvantage that you have listed, state and explain one traditional technique and one modern technique to counter the disadvantage. So what would you do in grape growing terms if you had issues with drought in your vineyards? Now, this is the new world, Argentina. There are less restrictions on what you can do in terms of adding water to your locality. So we're going to be talking here, of course, about irrigation. The traditional technique here is what we would call flood irrigation, with a complex series of channels which have been dug and sluice gates, which basically can be relieved, opened or closed to allow more or less water through into the allotted area. And this is used to manage the Andean meltwater that comes, of course, from the Andes. So water comes down from the Andes in streams and rivers, such as the Mendoza, for example, and then that is channeled via certain channels and sluice gates to agricultural areas. This is a very traditional way of doing things. So that will actually get you 2 marks, naming the traditional technique and explaining it. Modern, okay, is still irrigation, but we're going to be talking here about drip irrigation. Each vine has its own dripper that can be computer controlled with software to ensure that each vine gets the optimum amount of water. Now, I do get feedback very frequently, very much welcome, and questions here, certainly on YouTube. Sometimes people say, well, in the Argentina section, I couldn't find this information about drip irrigation. This is because we are utilizing a process here called bridge information, or it's really kind of bridging 2 parts of your textbook. The area talking about drip irrigation is in the grape growing chapter of your textbook near the front. So this is actually linking or bridging that chapter to the Argentina chapter. It's bringing those 2 together in order to understand the answer for this. Table questions are often very much liked. Mendoza is the largest region in Argentina with various sub-regions. Maybe we could call them nested regions. Please fill out the table with altitudes and a key grape growing fact about that sub-region. So you'll see on the left-hand side here, we have listed the Uco Valley, the Maipú area, and the Luján de Cuyo. Now we need to talk about the altitudes and then a specific key fact as per the level 3 syllabus. There will be 1 mark available for each of the altitude descriptions and then 1 mark for the key fact. Let's talk about the very famous Uco Valley. The altitude here is that it's the highest in Mendoza, that it has about 900 to 1500 meters of altitude. Now, I think the examiner here might give a half mark if you just say the highest in Mendoza, and it will give the extra for actually giving the stated altitude which is in your text. What is a key fact about the Uco Valley? Well, what it goes into a description in your textbook is that it's an area that really experiences quite a wide diurnal range due to that altitude, and that can cause very cool nights. So really, this combination here for Uco Valley, talking about altitude and that key fact, means you're going to get much brighter acidities and more freshness in these wines. Then we have the Maipú area, which is to the sort of southwest of Mendoza city. This has some of the lowest altitudes found out of the sub-regions we are describing. So the lowest altitudes at about 600 to 900 meters, as mentioned in your syllabus. A key fact about this area that it was very much planted widely in the early development of the Mendoza area. So we'll find a fair bit of volume of production here, and the lower altitude sites at 600, which is some of the lowest altitudes that we will find in the Mendoza area. This provides high volume, typically for export markets. The next one on the Luján de Cuyo, you will need to go across to the e-learning platform and sign up to my e-learning portal to gain access to the remainder of that question and all the other exclusive content within this video, plus extras as well. Once again, if you do have any comments or questions, please do get in touch. You can do so by leaving your comment or question below this video. Make sure you click like and subscribe. But if you're in the UK, please come and say hello for a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now.